On March 27th, 2023, Nintendo shut down the eShops on the Wii U and the 3DS. Granted, we were given almost a year of advance notice, but I never truly felt like I was able to grab everything I wanted. Yeah, I got stuff like Xenoblade X, Wind Waker HD, and Kirby Planet Robot, all which are getting more and more expensive and hard to find nowadays, but if you want to access those eShops now, on the 3DS, all there is are just like 2 free themes, and on the Wii U, nothing. And although I have a lot less Switch games and I've put a lot less time into the system compared to the Switch, I have around like 20-ish 3DS games and almost 90 Switch games now. I feel like the 3DS is better in a lot of ways. Ever since the eShops were closing on the 3DS, I really wanted to go back to the system and collect the heavy hitters that I missed out on, like Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds, Fire Emblem Maka is one of the big franchises on the system that I missed, Kirby Planet Robot, Star Fox 64 3D, and more. And I'm very glad I did. Granted, I love the Switch. It's my favorite console of all time, but handheld-wise, it's gotta be the 3DS. There's something about it that really resonates with me. There's the certain vibe that it gets off represents Nintendo during a different time, before the Switch and before they were playing it safe with a lot of games, it seems like. And I miss it. So today, I want to take a look back at my experiences with the 3DS. When I first got it around launch, the various games I got, Streetpass, and a bit about the eShop. So let's begin. So I first got my 3DS around launch day in 2011. I'm always an early adopter for Nintendo stuff, so I was very hyped for the system ever since it was first shown at E3 2010. I got Piloting's Resort and SpongeBob SquigglePants with it, both of which were pretty decent launch titles. It was really cool having the 3D text light up on this iteration, especially since we don't really have that anymore on the newer editions like the new 3DS or the new 2DS XL. At the time, its price point of $250 is pretty steep, especially compared to the new 3DS model, which is the one that I have now, which has face tracking 3D, amiibo support, and even better hardware for the same price, which launched 4 years down the road. I'm glad that they cut it down to $170 just later that year. Either way, I still got it and lost it in a crap ton of DS games over a boat, which I still regret to this day. Thankfully, I got a new one shortly thereafter and used it until 2014 when I got a red 3DS XL. From what I remember, the launch of the 3DS wasn't the best, but Piloting's Resort was a nice, bite-sized, pocketable Wuhu Island experience, especially after loving growing up with Wii Sports Resort and the rest of the Wii series. The built-in AR games feature, though, that was amazing. Oh my god, especially after working on Face Pizza and really thinking about how far AR technology's come is mind-blowing. When you think about it, the 3DS had some pretty revolutionary tech for its time, like especially in 2011. I love drawing on the 3D photos and just the AR games in general. It's just those sorts of built-in features are things I really wish carried over to the Switch. I loved how experimental Nintendo got with making these not just fully game systems, but also experiences, you know? And for Christmas that year, I got Mario Kart 7 and Mario 3D Land, both of which I'd say are some of the best games on the system even today. If either of those games came out at the 3DS's launch time, then I'd say the system would have done a lot better before the price cut. They're really fun, and Mario Kart 7 especially. Oh my god, the oddball just choice of characters like Queen Bee and Wiggler are really crazy, and no Luigi's a big sad, but those sorts of character choices I wish we could see more of in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, for example. As for Mario 3D Land, well, I wish we had a more traditional full 3D Mario experience on a handheld, which you wouldn't get into Odyssey in 2017. It was a nice fun blend of linear level design from the 2D games while being in a 3D space, which, yeah, we see that on the Wii U with 3D World, but for the first time on the 3DS, I'd say it was pretty solid. It was a nice, cool return of the Tunique Mario and raccoon suit from Mario Bros. 3, which, that was really cool. Though I will admit, I kind of wish we had Galaxy DS instead. I love those hoax videos as a kid. I will say my dream didn't come true until 3D All-Stars on Switch, where we would get Galaxy on an actual handheld. Skip forward a few years, and the next big year of the 3DS that I really experienced had two of the best 3DS games that I ever played. And I'd say are two of the biggest games on that system in general. Animal Crossing New Leaf and Pokemon X and Y. First, let's talk about Animal Crossing New Leaf. I grew up with City Folk as a kid, especially thanks to my good friend Colin, who we've known since childhood, and I got introduced to the series through him. So I was really looking forward to New Leaf. And so being a mayor and being able to visit Tortimer's Island was a real nice gameplay shakeup, especially coming from City Folk. I only put in around 100 hours into the game compared to the over 300 in New Horizons, but I'd say the quality of the time spent with New Leaf is way better for me compared to the quantity of hours I spent in either game. Being able to visit the Timmy and Tommy raffle and just trying to unlock those Nintendo items, whether if it was the R-Wing from Star Fox 64, the Zelda items, Metroid, just, oh my god, all those like references were so cool to see, even though it was already in Animal Crossing. And then New Horizons only have the Mario set. It's just heartbreaking to me. I love checking out other people's houses and being able to see Reggie's actual Animal Crossing house in your copy of the game. Like, what? Like, they wouldn't do that nowadays. It's awesome. And who could forget the meme?
Okay, that's all the time I've got. I gotta get back to playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on my Nintendo 3DS.
Those memes from the era cannot be forgotten, and I really miss Reggie being at Nintendo nowadays. And so as an amiibo collector, the Welcome Amiibo update was awesome too. Being able to see unique villagers based on the amiibo from other series such as Minish from The Legend of Zelda, Inklings from Splatoon, and more is really fun. I wish New Horizons took more advantage of this too. And so I remember going online and visiting a bunch of random islands and friends from around the world to catch rare fish and get a bunch of bells, even during the daytime, which is a lot of fun. And so because of that, every time I hear cicadas outside now during the summer, I always think of Animal Crossing because of playing New Leaf. 2013 also marked the release of Pokemon X and Y, my first melee Pokemon games. I'm not really a big fan of the franchise, even to this day, but I'm glad I gave the series a shot and actually started to get into it. I remember really trying to get into Pokemon in general around this time, really just watching the anime and Cartoon Network, buying cards, playing the trading card game with friends, and just training with people. It was a lot of fun. I remember playing this game and starting out with the chess pin, and I wish I chose Froakie instead because Greninja, especially in like Smash, is a lot of fun, but that's okay. I remember bringing Pokemon Y specifically to summer camps, the social skills programs, and just getting into the series, and it was a really great time. The social aspects of Pokemon, even to this day, I'd say are my favorite part of the series other than the Pokemon themselves. The Elite Four was stupidly difficult for me as a kid though, and while I beat it, it left such a bad taste in my mouth that I really wanted to play another Pokemon game until Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet on Switch last year, so almost a decade. Playing through Violet and just having those social aspects recaptured was a really nice feeling, and I'm very glad I did, and it makes me appreciate the franchise more than I did when I was a kid. Then afterwards comes one of my favorite games on the system, and the one I got the most hype for, Smash 4 3DS. Ever since I was a kid growing up with Brawl, I always dreamed of having Smash on the go, so this was just an awesome experience for me. I remember playing Smash Run where you got to explore like maze-like levels and use stats to feed from enemies to power up a character and get stronger in the end. It was just such an awesome mode that you could play over and over again that only lasted 5 minutes, and I really wish Smash Ultimate brought that back, or even in a future Smash game, because it was just one of the most replayable and fun modes in a Smash game, just period. It was a lot of fun. I remember on long car rides listening to the soundtrack, fighting against random CPUs, and playing Smash Run. But my favorite part of Smash 4 in general for both Wii U and 3DS was definitely the hype cycle. Leading up to the game, just waiting for years of like learning all the new characters coming out, going on the website, watching Annika's reactions, rest in peace, to all the new characters being revealed, whether if it was like Ryu, Cloud, Corrin, or it was just amazing. And I love Ultimate. When I saw like Banjo Joker and Sora all got in, I lost my mind. But I feel like the magic of Smash 4, especially at that time, just couldn't be topped. And I feel like the closest we've gotten is like maybe Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, I guess. But I don't know, maybe it's just nostalgia bias talking here. But I'd say this is one of the best times to be a Smash fan in general. And then next year in 2015, I got the newly released new 3DS XL with Xenoblade Chronicles 3D from GameStop, and that's the current one that I still use to this day. I'll admit, even though I literally got the 3DS XL a year prior, the regular one, it was a nice upgrade. The stereoscopic and head track in 3D was a nice touch that I could really notice a difference with. The increased power allowed SNES games and certain games like Fire Emblem Warriors and previously mentioned Xenoblade Chronicles 3D even run on the system. Xenoblade is one of my favorite RPG series of all time, just behind Persona. And Xenoblade Chronicles 3D was my introduction to this series, especially since the Wii version at the time, physically, was super expensive. I spent over 100 hours exploring this massive world on such just a tiny handheld, and getting invested with the real-time action combat and story, which I've always enjoyed about the Xenoblade series, especially with 2 and 3. It's crazy to me how, looking back, they put such a massive 100+ hour RPG on a handheld. And this is even before the Switch, where it's just a standard where you see games like Persona and Witcher running on it, you know? And then I got Chibi Robo Ziplash, which was one of the worst games I ever played during that time. It was so bad, I'm like, no thanks. I'm just gonna trade in and get Majora's Mask 3D instead. Oh wow, this is actually a good game. It was the best trade-in I've ever done. It's one of my favorite Zeldas. I haven't played the original. I heard a lot of people not like the remake, which is okay. I personally thought it was great. I loved getting all the masks and just the darker tones and just the ever-presence of the moon like falling down on Termina. It was a great Zelda game, and I'm very interested to see how Tears of the Kingdom is going to top that with its darker tones. And then in 2017, a big change happened. The Wii was officially discontinued, and the Nintendo Switch had just came out. I, alongside millions of other players, had switched over to this newer console and put our 3DSs to rest for a few years. Granted, there was a bunch of games steadily coming out for the system, not as much as during its heyday, but like a bunch of remakes and ports and newer game stuff, which that was pretty cool. One in particular that I loved was Metroid Samus Returns. This and Metroid Dread are the only games in the series I've ever 100%ed. They're both amazing Metroid games. The addition of the melee attacks and just the more offensive focused gameplay was a lot of fun, and despite the low 240p visuals, I like the art style of Metroid Samus Returns, and especially after playing Metroid Dread, I could really appreciate like the evolution of Mercury Steam's work on the series. And I'm really hoping Mercury Steam continues to help with Metroid games going forward, because their additions with the more offensive focused gameplay makes Metroid just so good. And then in 2021, I got the Mario & Luigi Superstar remake. I played this on a train line during my trip to Maine, which that was a lot of fun. I need to get the Bowser's Inside Story remake at some point. Mario & Luigi in general hit its stride on the 3DS in my opinion. Dream Team was my introduction in the series, not counting Bowser's Inside Story, and it was just so good. I love the art style, the characters, and the focus on Luigi, and just seeing another Mario & Luigi game, too, in fact, in that engine and art style was cool. Granted, I have the original Bowser's Inside Story, and while I do have some nostalgia with that game, I've never beaten it, so I kind of prefer the newer sprites and art style. Definitely one of my favorite RPG series, and it's heartbreaking to see that this series is probably gone for good since Alva Dream is bankrupt. I also played Game Boy Advance games, some of which I never played before. Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, Metroid Fusion, and Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, all which I got through the Ambassadors program since I had my original 3DS from March 2011. Just playing these games on a true handheld before the Nintendo Switch had Game Boy Advance support on their online service was really fun, and now that I have them on the 3DS, if for some reason the Switch Online servers go gone for good, I now have digital copies of these games on this system. And then in 2022, we get to another one of my favorite 3DS games that I didn't really think I would like until I got it. Persona Q2. New Cinema Labyrinth. Persona is my favorite role-playing franchise by far. I love Persona 5, one of my favorite games, and just seeing all the characters from 3, 4, and 5 interact with each other and just solving labyrinths and stuff was a lot of fun. I wish I had voice acting, but I love the gameplay and just being able to draw your own maps and just the cutscenes, and just seeing all the interactions was just so cool, and I really hope we get another one on the Switch. Now, after talking about all the big heavy hitters on the system that I really liked, I want to talk about Streetpass, one of the defining features of the system and one of my personal favorites. For those who don't know, whenever you pass by another person's 3DS in sleep mode, that person's user goes into your Streetpass Mii Plaza, which allows you to use that Mii in a bunch of small mini games and see whatever game or application they're playing. Over the past couple years, dozens of YouTubers such as Kit and Krista from their own podcast and Xeon for Nintendo Life have been trying to bring back Streetpass and bringing out their 3DSs in public. Even though it's been barren during the Switch's life, with the eShop closing, news spreading around on YouTube and social media, dozens of people have also been bringing 3DSs, myself included. Just at this year's PAX East alone, I got over over 100 Street Passes, which is insane. I was surprised to see that many people still just being dedicated and trying to keep Street Pass alive, despite the 3DS long being discontinued and the Switch almost nearing the end of its life cycle from what it seems. I myself never really got that many Street Passes. I got around only 200 or so, but hopefully with this convention and future conventions, I can remedy this and try to get as many Street Passes as I can. If you have a 3DS lying around, I'd highly recommend trying to bring it out in public. Again, who knows, you may even get a Street Pass. I even beat Find Me for the second time recently, and I got Find Me 2. And it also unlocked dozens of new puzzle panels from Puzzle Swap at PAX East. So that was just a nice experience, and I'm very glad I got to do that when I did. It just reminded me just how much people still care for the system over a decade later. Street Pass represents the 3DS era of Nintendo, encouraging people to be social and interact locally with each other, especially with the benefits of Street Passes both in the Mii Plaza and in certain games that supported it, like Animal Crossing and Tomodachi Life and Mario 3D Land. It's a shame this isn't on Switch, and I know it'd probably be like a lot more harder, but I would love to see this feature return. Just be rewarding, just bring your Switch around more often and be like, even if you're not playing a game on it, just being able to just connect with people who you've never met. Now, there's too many Street Pass minigames to list, especially the DLC ones. My personal favorites were Puzzle Swap, Find Me, and Mii Force. Puzzle Swap, as I mentioned before, allows you to unlock fully animated 3D pictures from Nintendo games and otherwise. Find Me is a cute mini RPG where the people you meet have different abilities based on their outfit color, such as powering up the next hero, or using certain spells to attack, or lighting up the room, etc. And you get to defeat enemies and save your 3DS's user's character. And Mii Force is a fun shoot 'em up where the more Street Passes you've collected makes your ship more powerful, so you can make the game just stupidly easy and broken and fun just by having like 10 different ship parts to shoot at all angles on the screen. And to wrap this up, I wanted to briefly talk about the eShop on the 3DS and Wii U and what its closure means to me. I love the eShop on the 3DS especially. The original just like catchy music that always changed around every few months was just awesome. It just made me want to browse to the shops. If you take the music away, it's just, what do you get? You get the Switch eShop, which is laggy, just barely functions, just clunky. It's just not fun. That's a big reason I don't like to go on the Switch eShop that often compared to the 3DS and Wii U ones. Imagine if your favorite retail store just didn't have any music. Just wouldn't be fun shopping there, you know? And now that the shops are gone, they're just empty. Unless if you're the completionist and buy everything in the systems, there's always a guarantee there's something you probably missed out on, so the only way to get it is through modding the system or emulating, which that would mean to a lot of people who don't want to do that, which is understandable, dozens of games are officially lost forever, which it's really unfortunate, especially for the ones that haven't been ported to modern hardware. I never really got into the eShop exclusives on the 3DS except Pushmo and Kersploosh. Pushmo is a game where you get to like stretch blocks to form puzzles to reach the goal. It's a really fun concept that surprisingly isn't on Switch. I don't know why. I feel like it'd just be perfect for the platform. It would be cool to see like a physical compilation of the original Pushmo games on modern hardware. And also Kersploosh, which was a nice fun game where you get to take control of a rock or other random objects falling down a well with obstacles. I mainly got it because it was just like $2, and for what it's worth, it was pretty solid. The final game that I downloaded from the 3DS eShop before it closed was Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure, a rare cult classic which follows an art thief who has to find his father after going missing 3 years prior. It was developed by Sega and Zen and released around 2012. I personally haven't heard of this game nor have I played it yet, but it's one of the most rarest and difficult to obtain 3DS games to own physically nowadays, so I figured to get it now before it was too late. After getting the chance to really get into the 3DS again and really try to use it up to the fullest before the eShop closed, this is definitely my favorite handheld of all time, not counting the Switch. Despite the 240p screen and the low power, the quality of the first-party titles and the dual-screen mechanics were superb. I really wish that we could have this clamshell design in a future Nintendo system, or just something in general. The only thing that I really see it in nowadays is like the Samsung G Fold 4, which is cool, but I really want to see Nintendo try to do this again, because the clamshell design of the DS line really means a lot to me. It symbolizes my childhood and teenagehood, and I really want to see that again. I enjoy returning my 3DS now, even though the screens are smaller than what I'm used to on the Switch OLED. It's just a lot of fun. There's just something nice about playing games on a smaller screen, you know? I've always loved how the physical copies of Wii U and 3DS games had the game's icon on the side of the box. It's just an awesome detail that I haven't seen on many other systems that I collect for, and just reminds me of the passion Nintendo had during this era. As much as I love the Switch now, I'm always gonna miss this era of Nintendo, where they took more risk and were such just a weird company to just follow. Hopefully we see more risks in the future, or bring more games over from Japan to the West. Weather 3, please? Please? And so now, to end this video, I really wanted to ask everyone a question. So now that Streetpass is coming back despite the 3DS's eShops being shut down, is this the end of an era, or is it a new beginning? It's for us to decide. Bring back Streetpass, and thanks for watching.